Thank you very much. I'm with China Youth Daily and its affiliated website. According to the government work report this year, we have to achieve stability this year, and how we'll more hard stick to this policy in general. Thank you very much for your question. 2023 marks the first year for us to follow through the spirit of the 20th CPC National Congress. It is very important that we get this off to a good start. We have made the general plan of steady and stable progress. In our understanding, stability is the foundation and progress is the key. The works related to housing and urban rural development will firmly understand the important significance of the two maintenances, and we will focus on stability and progress. We have to be down to earth, identify the problems, set our targets, and leverage various policies so as to make contribution to sound and stable economic recovery and make contribution to the improvement of people's livelihood. In 2023, MOHARD will focus on three key areas of work. Number one, stabilize the foundations to prevent risks, and three, improve people's well-being. In terms of stabilizing the foundation, from a statistics perspective, we have 20 different sectors of the industry. Generally, if the increment amount is larger than 5% of the GDP, then it is defined as the pillar or key industry. Amongst these 20 sectors, six of them have generated a contribution of more than 5% of the GDP. And in the housing and rural-urban development sector, we have two pillar industries. The first is construction industry. In 2020, the increment value accounts for 9% of the GDP. And the other is the real estate industry. In 2020, in 2022, it's accounted for 6.1% of China's GDP in terms of its incremental amount. Combined together, they account for 30% of China's GDP. If we could stabilize these two pillars, we can fundamentally stabilize the fundamentals of our economy. So, number one, we have to stabilize the construction industry because it's a very large sector that involves many different industries and generates a huge employment. In 2022, the incremental amount of this industry reached 8.3 trillion yuan. It has also attracted more than 52 million employees, so it is providing a huge number of jobs to the society. So we have to empower the construction industry with science and technology so as to advance the high-quality development of this industry. And we also hope that the construction industry can drive growth and stabilize the employment. With regards to the real estate industry, there is a general description that is summarized by 456. Housing loan accounts for 40% of all the loans of the banks. The housing-related revenue accounts for 50% of China's government revenue, and 60% of the wealth of the general residents are in the real estate sector. So the real estate industry truly concerns the development of China in general. So to stabilize the real estate industry, we have to adopt targeted measures for every city, make sure that there is a policy for every city, and support those rigid demands of apartments and properties so that we can boost people's confidence and stimulate the smooth recovery of the industry. there are two main areas of work that we have to focus. On the other hand, we need to step up with more low-income housing and support long rental apartments. What's more important is to solve the housing issue of the young generation and those engaged in new types of professions. So this is one very important pillar. And the other key pillar of our work is to guard against risks. We have seen with a sober mind that up until present, a lot of the new properties, they have become old ones. Some of the urban facilities are being phased out, and they are aging, and there are safety concerns and hazards. So how to mitigate these problems? Number one, we have to engage in renovation so that we can rule out the potential hazards. And number two, we have to leverage modern technology to strengthen safety from the perspectives of properties and people and facilities, so as to ensure the safety of people's assets. There's another category of risk, and that is the rental risks of the real estate industry. We have to avoid the mingling of the real estate industry risk with systemic financial risks and the local government debt crisis. So how do we do that? We have to focus on two ends and focus on the main body that is at the center and take precise measures. On the one hand, for those high-quality enterprises in the real estate industry, we have to take all of them as equals. We support fine-quality SOEs and private enterprises in the real estate sector. Make sure that their legitimate financing needs are taken care of. On the other hand, we have to mitigate risks. We have to help them to help themselves. At the same time, we have to introduce law-based regulations and punishment wherever necessary. So those who speculate have to pay a costly price. Important measures must be taken to straighten the housing market so as to create a market atmosphere that features integrity and cleanliness, so that people can buy properties without any concerns and rent an apartment without any worries. We also need to deliver well-being for the people, and there is everything that we have to talk about with regards to people's well-being. Everything we do is for the happiness of the general public. The most plain aspiration of the people for happiness is to live in a safe house and do a decent job. So our work at the Mohawk is to deliver just this, to make sure that people can live in better apartments and better residential compounds and better communities and then better cities. And we need to make sure that the cities are well planned and well constructed so that we can build a livable, resilient and smart city and create high-quality living environment for the people. Thank you.
Next question. CMG. Thank you. Good afternoon, Minister Yi. I remember that early this year you received our dedicated interview from CMG, and you were quite confident about the real estate boost. So, has anything changed? Thank you for that challenging question. Actually, I felt differently now. On January the 5th, I was interviewed by CMG, and When taking the questions, I was very confident. Now, I am still full of confidence. And why is that? There are 3 points to make. First of all, from the supply and demand side on the market, the pandemic control has come to a decisive success. Our containment measures have always been upgraded and optimized. So as to realistic supply and demand, there has been some positive effects. From the supply side, all those construction materials and workers could enter onto the site very easily. So the work resumption ratio has been elevated. And as to the demand side, now the number of visitors has been rising up significantly. As to the actual sales, they have recovered as well. Secondly, from the prospect of the market, in February this year, we have ended the 13 months of negative growth in terms of the commodity housing. And of course, there have been ups and downs in different cities, but in general, the price has been steady. Meanwhile, we have guaranteed the legitimate rights of those house buyers, and credit for the housing has been improved as well. It is fair to say that the market players are getting more confidence in the market. Third, as to the implementation of policies, for those buyers trying to acquire the first houses are supportive of the policies. And now there have been some new policies coming into the market to support both the buyers acquiring the first and the second houses of their families. We are not supportive of the speculative behaviors, and different localities have been executing the policies as to the behavior of buying the third house of their family members. So based on the above-mentioned 3 points, I am full of confidence right now. But in the meantime, I still have to emphasize that we are expecting a steady recovery. But we adhere to the following principles. The first principle is houses should be lived, not speculated. Second, we expect to have a recovery so as to improve the supply and demand side. Third, the recovery should avoid big fluctuations in the market. Fourth, such recovery should support high-quality growth of the industry. Next question from Hongxin News.
Thank you very much. With Red Star News. And good afternoon, Minister Ni. Urban renewal is one very important task specified by the State Council, and there is also requirement made for urban renewal from the government work report. What are your plans from the perspective of Mohurk in doing a good job in urban renewal this year? Thank you very much for your question. Urban renewal is one necessary step for the development of the city. High-quality development is one priority for us to build a strong country. Urban renewal is one very important means for us to realize high-quality development. So how do we go about urban renewal? We have to identify the problems and effectively solve these problems. So how to identify problems? So we have to conduct a diagnosis of the city. A city is just like a human body. It's an organic thing. People have to go through physical examinations to ensure health. The same goes true for cities. So how do we conduct a physical examination for cities? there are two very important facets. Number one, it has to be question-oriented, no matter it is a apartment, a residential compound, a building, or a city. We have to identify the problems that are concerning the fundamental interest of the people. And number two, we have to be target-oriented. We need to identify those elements that can affect a city's competitive edge, its sustainability, as well as its key vulnerability. So if we could identify those elements, we would know the key problems impeding the development of the city. So a city should be built for the people and by the people. We have to conduct a step-by-step approach in this regard. And specifically, we have to focus on 4 areas. Number one, continue to do a good job of renovation of old residential compound. So what are the key focuses in this regard? We need to rule out the safety hazards, and wherever possible, we have to attach an elevator to those old buildings. Also, we have to put in place environmental revolution, put in place charging piles and some new facilities. We also need to engage in managerial revolution, and this regards party building and better property management service. General Secretary Xi pays a lot of attention to the renovation of old residential compounds, and last year he paid a visit to the Mudanjiang community in Liaoning province. So we feel very strongly that General Secretary Xi hold great emotion and sentiment for people's living environment. He said that the renovation of old residential compounds holds the key in improving the gains of the people and the happiness of the general mass. So we at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development will bear in mind the important instructions of General Secretary Xi. Over the past 5 years, we have renovated 167,000 old residential compounds, benefiting 29 million households. In 2023, we hope to expand that to more than 50,000 old residential compounds to benefit more than 20 million people living in cities. And number two, we have to do a good job in ensuring the safety of the lifeline of a city. When a city is hit by extreme weathers and natural disasters, we need to ensure the sufficient supply of the city and make sure there is safety and security, because that is the resilience of the city. So the lifeline projects are very important in terms of improving the city's resilience. So how do we do that? We have to embrace digital technologies and engage in urban renewal to do a good job in the heating system, the bridges and pipelines, and put in place real-time monitoring so that we can identify problems and solve these problems. So this is what we have to do in terms of improving the lifeline projects of the cities. And number three, it's important to preserve and protect historic towns and streets of a city, because the historic towns and streets and historic buildings are important legacies left from our ancestors, and they hold the key to the cultural spirit of the city, and they also hold the nostalgia of the urban dwellers. We cannot engage in massive demolition of cities. We need to preserve those historic towns and buildings and streets and also make the best use of them so that they can speak and they can become part of modern urban life. And number 4, and we have to improve the digital infrastructure of cities. Urban renewal requires us to renovate the old buildings and to supplement the weak links. We also need to use innovative thinking to empower urban renewal through technology. And right now we have to seize the opportunity by using 5G and the Internet of Things and other modern ITs. We have to try our very best to bring this technology to households, to buildings, and to residential compounds. So let us work together to build digital households and smart cities so that cities can become more intelligent and technology can benefit more of high-quality life.